that, just a quick short introduction is Nimbula has been talked about. It's a company that has a very interesting history with Amazon through its founders. And yet we haven't heard a lot about it because you guys have been so focused on engineering. Yeah. So this is an opportunity for us to hear really, in my opinion, sort of about an interesting company that not a lot of you have heard about yet. So with that, I'll let you take it away.
Oh, thanks, Dave. And yeah, we'll definitely be trying to increase that presence. But so anyway, we're Nimbula. Like Dave said, our founders, Chris and Willem, they are the guys who started EC2 way back in the day and decided they wanted to create this type of infrastructure, flexible infrastructure for private data centers. Basically, our goal is to increase your IT agility. You know, get the red tape, get the process out of the way. People could do whatever they want within the constraints of policy rather than the constraints of IT. You need to do this to increase your rate of innovation and build your business, but do this without increasing your operational costs or security risk. And it's really those three things: agility with low OpEx and high security. That's hard to do. Who are we after? Anybody with very elastic IT needs. I think what Matthew said before about if you're running traditional IT apps and you need better automation for it, you're probably not going to come to Nimbula. You're probably just going to keep staying with VMware, and they're doing awesome at meeting that need. And also, like Randy was saying, that this type of scale-out application, stateless application, we're trying to ride the wave of that as it grows. Now, in terms of what types of people are buying our product, I have a few different use cases and some sample customers. One is very focused on test and development. One company, EPAM, who just filed to go public, they do software for like Microsoft and Google and Oracle and SAP, and their goal is to streamline their test and dev. They've basically gotten things down from hours to minutes in terms of provisioning sandboxes. But what's really amazing is what they used to do is they used to ship the software to their customers, and it would take them months to deploy it. Now they're kind of a private SaaS company for their customers, and they deploy it in minutes. So a radical change to their business. And besides companies, they also have government is a big, they have a big cloud push. Their use is a little different than, instead of test and development, they're focusing on batch and high-performance computing, we found. And we have a government contractor that deployed our software for someone. We can't say who, but very security conscious, which is great at such an early stage to land a deal like that. But besides the elasticity to run HPC, they've cut down their project completion time by like 40% because of the automation on the infrastructure side. SaaS is huge for all the reason Randy and everybody else mentioned. Our biggest SaaS customer right now is a company called Yandex out of Russia. Public company, the biggest search engine out there, I think 5th in the world. And they've got their QA reduced by 90%, and then they're, getting, I think that's a big thing. Again, developer sandbox down from 2 days down to like 5 minutes. And lastly, service providers, people that want to make their own infrastructure as a service. So we have some SIs right now partnering with us to deploy MSPs and get them into service provider. The thing is, it's hard in this space. You've heard three or four people now already kind of in a very similar place to where we are. And where we try to differentiate ourselves is on enterprise readiness. You're taking what Chris and Willem learned from Amazon and making our software work the way it needs to work to host a very big cloud very reliably from day one. So when you deploy our software, you download it from our website, free, full-featured for 40 cores. You install it, you get you up and running within the first couple hours. No SIs, no PSO. You just install it, and it works. And then as you grow that deployment, the functionality all works at scale. We don't have any single points or dual points of failure on the control plane. Everything is self-healing. Whatever dies goes and restarts somewhere else. The key is to always keep the cloud API up, no matter what, and we've focused on that from day one. No single points of failure, self-healing control plane. We think we've got lots of differentiated vision and features too, but I think this focus is a very big deal and pervades everything we do. The things that we strive for, we want you to, out of the box, again, without $1 million PSO engagement or without an army of engineers putting it together, we want you to be able to do things like deploy 1,000 instances in under 30 minutes. We want you to be able to walk up to any rack in the data center, unplug it without knowing what's on it, and still have the cloud run. Sure, you're going to have some instances die and they'll have to be restarted, but the cloud should always be up. Self-service at a very, very, very complete level. Without any administrative help, without any asking for permission, you should be able to deploy your compute, deploy your storage, deploy your public IPs, deploy your DNS, deploy everything, put it together into a single application without any help from an administrator, no red tape. Worldwide deployment. If we're talking about agility, we're not just talking about agility within a data center, we're pulling together lots of data centers and pulling together public clouds. Single set of identity, single set of permissions, single audit trail, single security model to work across lots of clouds. And then collaboration. How multiple people, again, more agility, how multiple people from different tenants can work together without an omniscient shared administrator. It's not IT anymore. There's no CIO that owns the data. The tenants have to agree on how to collaborate on their own without the help from the cloud admin, and it needs to be just as secure as before. And so we have a model for that that's gone for an hour about, but it's pretty cool stuff. Try to go quickly on this slide. What we delivered in 2011 was our initial release. I think we're a little bit later than a couple of the other folks in the room, so hopefully catching up here. So 1.0, we had the self-service infrastructure as a service, really focusing on the multi-tenancy, self-service network isolation, self-service permissions isolation, and having it be extremely low OpEx, extremely high reliability day one. So we really focused on enterprise readiness before we came out with the first product. I think Randy took a small dig at a 5-minute install. I'm not going to deny that burn tests are a good thing, but once you're done with that, the install experience should be nothing more than plug it in, turn it on, and walk away. No typing this, no pointing and clicking that, no installing the other thing or reaching out to that other configuration system. Plug it in, turn it on, walk away. That's how you're going to work at scale. And again, the self-healing control plane. And then in 1.5, basically, this is when sales kind of took off. Besides having compute, you really do need persistent storage to back the applications. You do need public IP addresses if you're going to any of the service providers. And so those features kind of unblocked a lot of deals for us. Then we introduced the federation between our own sites. We'd always had the federation EC2. Introduced network and storage quality of service management and metering, because everybody likes chargeback, right? 2.0, we just announced the forthcoming availability, which is next month. Big push on applications management. The idea is, instead of thinking about little pieces of infrastructure, what I want to do is I want to think about application as a whole, orchestrate the entire thing, have that be a long-lived definition that's monitored and healed by the control plane over the life of the application. Complete set of network services. Everybody listed a bunch of network services, and it's key. You can't really run a cloud without it. I've listed, I think, 7 of them there. The key thing is they're all self-service. Each and every one of those can be run by tenants without help from the cloud admin. The tenants are their own network admins, complete flexibility that they need on the network, but without interrupting or interfering with each other as tenants on a shared cloud. We've done a bunch of work trying to work more closely with VMware. We're supporting ESXi, and we're also packaging and bundling Cloud Foundry. I don't know that VMware would sign up to this strong statement, but our goal is to be the best place to run a private PaaS, even a private VMware PaaS. We think there's a good fit between kind of that Amazon style and the Cloud Foundry PaaS platform. Extensible cloud platform. I'm not going to talk a lot about this bullet right now. I have a whole slide on it, but basically the goal is, I think somebody will ask, are you open source? No, we're not open source. But the goal will be to have an extremely extensible cloud where the integrations can be extremely tightly baked into the control plane so that you, not a hodgepodge model, but a really clean extensibility of the cloud. And I'll define what that means, what our goals are for that. And then extending enterprise readiness, lots of work. I mean, boring stuff. We don't really do a 10-minute talk. Lots of security, systems management, financial stuff. Quotas are a key thing. Somebody mentioned that before. You want to prevent denial of service attacks on your cloud. So application orientation. The key is every application should have a definition. You should be able to define your network topology. You should be able, so different security lists that are all self-service, the rules between the security lists. You should be able to define parts of your application. So database is going to go on that list, application on that list, web server on this other list. The database gets persistent storage. The application, the web server gets public IP and DNS, all defined in one very simple JSON file. And then it becomes monitored. We constantly watch the application. If something dies, HA will come in and take over. And then further out in 2012, not in this March release, we do plan to have auto-scaling. So if something is slow, we'll be able to deploy more of it. Now, what do I mean by extensibility? Extensibility, again, it's not just putting two things next to each other. It's about having them really fit in and work together. We think third-party services should be indistinguishable from Nimbula-provided services. They should be able to be launched through our own API and look like a Nimbula command, even though it should be extensible to have their own arguments. Those services should be protected and scaled the same way our control plane is protected and scaled. So service vendors don't have to invent all this themselves. They could just inherit it from the control plane. Again, but with their own custom policy and custom HA and scaling logic. All of these services should be available for the launch plan orchestration. This thing that I talked about over here, they should be able to address third-party services just as well as Nimbula services and not know the difference. And that's going to help service providers differentiate from one another. And of course, you want to inherit all the network isolation and multi-tenancy that everything else in the cloud has. Our early targets for integration are PaaS, networking, and storage and data services. So how this kind of all comes together, basically you have Nimbula, which is a highly simplified slide, but basically we have compute, storage, and network services. And in the extensibility, we've bundled Cloud Foundry as an example PaaS, example Memcache as kind of a data service, and bundled OpenVPN as a networking service. And we've implemented this as if we were the third parties and as reference implementation so others can do the same. And our goal, really by the end of this year, is to get a little bit of the Star Trek world here, something we call One Cloud, where we kind of talked about the collaboration, how multiple tenants could work together in a cloud. We want multiple tenants to be able to work across clouds too. The idea is to break down any barriers to collaboration and shared work that you may have had. Anybody can launch a workload into any cloud at any time for any duration, so long as they have the permissions, the willingness to pay, and the cloud offers the proper capability. And the extension of our permissions model combined with our federation model is going to enable this. And that's the Nimbula overview. Definitely encourage you guys to download it, try it out. Maya, who's sitting over there, has CDs. If you don't like the download speed, you can pull it off the CD. And thank you very, very much for your time.
Great.